After I start running so far, I've got to go farther and farther to get to that same dark space. I feel like that's where a lot of growth happens, is when you're really down, struggling, kind of start figuring out life a little bit.
Together through their stride.
Welcome back to another episode of Through Their Stride, a Texas-born podcast sharing the stories of runners from here at home and far beyond. I'm your host, Sam Sutton, and today's guest, this turned into one of my favorite interviews. It was Kayla Straub, the winner of the Brazos Bend 100 miler last weekend, and man, this one was fun. I mean, she talked a lot about her mental health and how she found running in 2019 to help with her mental health and her confidence during an abusive relationship. How it turned into something way bigger than that from 2020 and beyond. She found ultra running in 2020 during the COVID pandemic when those races were all that were being held. And yeah, it really took off for her. She's won 10 ultra marathon races. And she even has a course record in her home state of Kansas from back in 2022. Yeah, we just nerd out about running, talk about, how she loves the ultra marathon, the 100-mile ultra marathon more than any distance, and how she finished the Brazos Bend marathon, ultra marathon wearing a Santa costume. She has a really interesting story about costumes and running, so I hope you enjoy that. Before we start, I just want to ask everyone, if you love this podcast, please give it a review, and please follow it or subscribe to it, wherever you listen to it, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to it. Please give it a follow or a subscribe, and please give it a review or a comment. That really helps turn this into a legitimate podcast. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Kayla, welcome to Through Their Stride. Thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so just wanted to introduce you for my guest. So you just won the Brazos Bend 100 miler here in Texas, and that is incredible. I mean, I think you did it in like 16 hours and 23 minutes. Was that a PR for you?
It was by 3 minutes. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
For sub 16, but I'll take that one. So
yeah, that's great. I was hold on one second. I think I can hear you better without my headphones. But yeah, I looked up your running profile on ultra. It looks like you have about 10 victories in the ultra running space, and I was like, that's awesome. So, and you only just started in 2020, is that correct?
That would have been my first ultra, really. Kind of started with road races. Did a 5K, a marathon, and then COVID, the pandemic, everything, and I don't know, for whatever reason, an article came through from Fleet Feet that just went to my email and was like, hey, 100-mile races are still happening. And it was like, how do you do that? So, of course, I signed up because I had 6 months of, nothing in my life going on. So,
yeah, that's a good time to find a race if you can. And I guess, yeah, with trails, it's so remote out there that it was a little bit easier to have those races. And other than a marathon where it's like 8,000 people stacked up into one street, so that's nice. But so tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into running, and what was your relationship with the sport with sports growing up?
Okay, so my adolescence, I was not athletic. Actually, kind of ironically, pretty overweight, pretty lazy, typical child in the Midwest. I mean, give me some surge and some snacks and I'm good. So I really didn't pick up running until, 6-7 years ago. Started as an adult and was kind of in a relationship that went downhill, and this kind of became my stress relief because I knew I was going to be raising 3 teenagers on my own. I didn't start competitively. It wasn't anything at all like that. It was just for my own sanity, really. I wasn't good at it. Started actually with a free treadmill my neighbor was giving away from a garage sale because they just wanted to get rid of it. And I was like, well, I can still see my kids. Like, I don't have to leave the house. 1 mile. I did not want people to see me running. Absolutely not. Because I was like, I don't think I'm doing this right. So just kind of self-taught, self-started on a treadmill. And then one of my coworkers convinced me I needed to run outside. And I was like, blew him off for 6 months. I was like, no, thank you. Not interested. For whatever reason, one day out of the blue, I was like, okay, I'm ready. So he was ready, and we went for a couple miles, and I was like, oh, it's so nice running outside. So that's kind of what kicked me off. That same friend and slash coworker told me, well, every year on January 1, I just set this goal for myself to run at least 1 mile every day. So that actually started once we get to January 1 this year. It'll be my 7-year mark of at least 1 mile every day. So it and then it's gone from there, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess now it's a lot of the times way more than 1 mile every day with ultra training.
Oh, yes. Yep. So just getting ready to wrap up December, and looks like I'll end up with about 3,300 miles for the year. So it's
yeah, I'm only about 1,250, but the most I do is marathons. So ultra running is still something to me that a lot of my friends do, and I've had a few on the podcast, and they talk about like the 100-milers, 250-mile races they'll do, and I'm like, gosh, that's just a lot of time on feet. Maybe one day I'll get there.
They'll convince you. Yeah. If you've got friends that do it, they'll drag you. I know they will.
So, yeah. And so how did you, I guess, get into the ultra space? You said it was in around 2020 when you started trying that out?
Yes. So I guess I don't really follow, a traditional end up in ultra marathon path or something. As far as like actually signing up for races, I did one 5K in July of 2019, and then I did a full marathon that October. And then the pandemic really picked up. Everything was kind of canceled. And so then that following June, there was a local Kansas race called Honey Badger. It's supposed to kind of mimic Badwater because it's in the middle of summer. The year I did it was like 115 and, 100% humidity. I didn't even know if I could finish it, but I was determined. So got a sub 24 on that one. It's all on a blacktop, no shade. I don't know. I told myself at that point, never again, but here is never again. So it's.
Yeah. Well, I saw that one, and you were ninth place overall. Was that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible. I mean, for your first in 115 degrees.
They got easier from there. Actually, I started doing better because I'm like, oh, if you don't do it in the brutal heat of the Kansas summer, then they're a little easier. I mean, not much because there's not a thing as an easy 100-miler, I guess, but
yeah.
When you compare,
anything,
Yeah.
And I was curious too, what kind of hooked you into the ultra space? I mean, you said you started off like kind of 1 year on the roads and then jumped into ultras, but what kind of kept you there? What was the things that kept you in the trails?
Gosh, I think first and foremost, it's been this community. I don't know. It's just different than, your road races, your 5Ks, 10Ks, whatever. I mean, that's positive community, but I just feel like this community in particular, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Like everybody's just out there. It's the most encouraging, inclusive community I've ever been a part of. So, that's kept me coming back. And then just kind of on a more personal level, I guess after I start running so far, I've got to go farther and farther to get to that same dark space I feel like that's where a lot of growth happens is when you're really down, struggling, you kind of start figuring out life a little bit. So I think that's the hook for me a little bit is trying to, when you get to those lows, what do you do with it? You can either derail your whole train or you can roll with it and ride the waves and just keep going. So,
and going back to your the way you discovered running, and that was kind of the way you discovered it was trying to find a little bit of an outlet, right? And kind of a rough relationship, and what kind of kept you out there, I guess, back in that time, and how was running healing for you in that time?
And obviously at that point in time, I was just going through tons of depression and lots of things. I was like, how am I going to get through this? But for whatever reason, I guess kind of my motto for myself back then when I was just teaching myself to even run one consecutive mile was, I mean, I just told myself every day, just put on the shoes, just put on the shoes. I mean, that kind of became my motto. I wouldn't even think about it in the morning. I just get up, put on the shoes and go. Kind of just told myself, let's get the worst part of the day over with. Because at that point, I don't know if I really enjoyed running. It was hard. It was difficult. It was, but once I kind of mastered the mile and then just kept adding a little bit of distance, I just realized, hey, this is a great time to think and to process and to figure out, how I'm even going to provide for my kids or those types of things. They were all solved on runs. So just became my time.
Yeah, I love that. And I do, I mean, running for me is one of those places where I'd get off of work, I'd have a bad day, or, my wife and I get into an argument over something and I'm just kind of like angry, trying to process emotions. And a lot of times I'll go out for a run and, I'm able to process those just in the miles or like process a bad day at work or it's just a stressful time that I'm going through. And I get back and I'm like, well, okay, this isn't so bad, or like, oh, maybe I was in the wrong here, or, and like, then I can come back and be like, okay, here's, life isn't as bad as maybe I thought it was 30 minutes to an hour ago.
It brings a lot of clarity to issues. Like, if you don't run, like, I don't know if there's a way to explain it. If you run, I think you just get it.
It's kind of like, a lot of people talk about like runner's high and, the endorphins. And I think that's kind of part of it. Like just the emotional processing that running gives you, that is kind of the high. Cause even on like really bad runs, I'll end and it's like, well, I'm still feel good because I went out and did it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Cause every day is not a good run. So sometimes that's a battle in and of itself. So I don't know what part of Texas you're from, but here in Kansas, we have 4 extreme seasons. So we're in our winter months now. It's been mild so far, knock on wood, but when it gets to the negatives, it's like, I don't want to do this. But ever since I started running outside, I have not gone back to a treadmill unless I absolutely, just for whatever reason, have to. So
do you like the cooler running better, or do you like hotter temperatures better? I guess, yeah.
Oh, I like hot. Yes. I think my body likes cooler better. It handles the cool better, but mentally, like, I don't care how hot I am, I'm happier. So it's a balance.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, I always tell people, like, on a cold weather day, it's really hard to get out there because you're like, oh, like, I just want to stay in bed and like, I don't want to get out in like 30 some odd degrees. And then you get out there and like you said, your body kind of moves and you feel okay and you get it done. And then on a hot day, you can jump out, because it's easier to get started because it feels good when you walk out. And then of course, 3 miles in, you're like, okay, when is this going to be done? But
absolutely. I was actually worried about the weather differences between Brazos and here, because about the 2 weeks before the race, we actually had snow and kind of an ice storm for 2 weeks. So it's like, it was like 10s, 20s, and then I was like, 60s are gonna feel hot, but really, it wasn't that.
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit about how you decided to choose Brazos, and was this your first time racing in Texas?
It was my first Texas race. So I guess I've had that one on the list for a little bit. Honestly, I was drawn to it because of the alligators. But obviously, just got to kind of space out races and finances and that whole 9 yards. But it was finally time. So I wasn't planning on this particular race this year. I went to Steamboat, Colorado in September, had a big DNF out there. And I was like, okay, I've had this whole training plan. I'm feeling excellent. Like, I just need to finish the year on a positive note. So signed up after that and was like, let's go. So One of my friends was going to be running it. So I was like, perfect. Let's make it a party.
That's awesome.
So,
And you saw some alligators, right?
yeah. Yes, it was exciting.
Were they often?
So they were out by the observation tower. Like there was some out in that corner. I don't know all the names of the little points out there, but definitely saw them there. Then when we had like our lamps on and stuff, you could kind of see eyes, and I'm like, I don't know how many are out there, but they're watching us.
That's awesome.
So.
But do you feel like you ever got like kind of like dangerously close to one where you were kind of like, oh, okay?
I didn't feel that way, but I was like, I mean, obviously my first race around alligators, I'm like, I've heard they're fast. So if this thing wants to do it,
for sure.
So,
and
yeah. I mean, it might have helped improve my race time, I guess.
Yeah.
Being chased, but.
That's awesome. And then another fun thing I saw, you crossed the finish line and you were wearing kind of like a Santa costume. And I was like, that is incredible to run almost 16 and a half hours in a Santa costume. Was that kind of just something fun for you to kind of take the edge off, or how did that come about?
This started my 24-hour races. So that format is usually like a track format, very, you have access to your crew all the time. And it's like, I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I like to take my training serious. I like to take my nutrition serious, my sleep serious. I'm like, it's really not that serious. Like, I want to do well. But you know what? Once you get to race day, anything can happen. Like, it's not really, sometimes I don't honestly feel like it's the most accurate reflection of everything you've put in, because who knows? Like, you could wake up and just be having a bad day, an off day. It's like just such a small snapshot, a small window into everything that goes into these. So I think for myself, it's like kind of once I get down to that real dark level, deep level, it's a good reminder, like, let's just have fun. Like, whatever happens here, it's just kind of a pick me up. And it's funny about the Santa suit, because I picked it up about mile 80. Wasn't feeling terribly great at that point, was having just some stomach issues and whatever. So from the start line to the other aid station where your crew can get to. So my mom was at the start. I said, it's time for costumes. And she's like, okay, I'll bring it to the next one, Well, I guess she forgot it. So my mom's not a runner, keep in mind. And so she's like, after she had walked the, almost half a mile to the other aid station, she's like, I forgot it. So she said she had to, she got a little bit of running in that day too, because she was worried she wasn't going to meet me back at the aid station with it. So, but yeah, so I don't know. I just have a collection I bring to races, and I think it brings, I saw lots of smiles out there, lots of comments. Just, I think some of the other runners enjoy it too. Just kind of picks them up. They're like, what the heck? Where did Santa come from, So I just like have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you said you get some comments and some compliments on it. I do assume that's kind of like a pick me up for the rest of the racers too. And one of the things that I love about running, especially racing, is that like running is one of those sports where you're not really against most people. You're kind of running with them. You're picking each other up. Everyone's kind of feeding off of each other in a positive way. So if you getting to bring something like that to the space, how does that lift you up when you see other people kind of getting lifted by that?
I mean, I guess that, especially in a loop format like that particular race, I'm seeing a lot of the runners at the same times, and I know that they're out there trying to accomplish the same goal, or maybe they're in a different race distance. But when I saw the 100-mile bids out there, and they're struggling just the same that I am, so I might pass them one loop just because I'm moving a little bit quicker, but then they might be head down, and just you can tell they're hurting. So then you come by them, and there's a little bit of conversation going on. I mean, obviously they're quick conversations or whatever, but so I just feel like it keeps it positive, keeps it light, keeps it fun. So, and I hope that with anybody that those interactions did happen, hopefully it got them through another mile or 2 miles, or whatever. So.
That's awesome. And that was one of the reasons too that I wanted to have you on, because I saw the trail racing over Texas post and I was like, she's in a Santa costume. I'm like, that is so cool. But what are some other costumes that you've worn on races? What are some of your favorites that you've run in out there?
So I always have tutus, probably more tutus than I care to count. So I've got like some St. Patty's Day ones, turkey ones. So last man standing, that one was really fun because I brought like, I don't even know, 12, 13 costumes, had a banana suit. And that one's like a full on costume. I'm like, thankfully like that format, it's like the 4.1 miles every hour or whatever. So it's like, I've got 20 minutes to get in this thing. So it's that one, it was fun. It was just a lot of local Kansas runners, lots of friends, people I see quite often. So they're like, oh my gosh, girl, what are you doing? I'm like, you want a costume? I've got a bucket over here. So
that's great. And so you've run multiple distances really, because you went down from the 5K, you've run a marathon, you've run 100 milers, 100Ks, 50Ks. So talk a little bit about what is your favorite distance of all of them, and what are the differences in your experience between every single one?
I go back and forth a little bit between I really, really love the 100-mile. And I like it just because for the most part, they seem to be just kind of adventures and, I don't know, exploring or whatever. A couple of years ago, I really got into the USA track and field 24-hour team. So I went out to 6 days in the Dome. I fell short there on my qualification. So then I went to Fat Ox out in Arizona last year, I believe it was, or the year before. So I think I was 4th overall out there. I was hoping to come out with a win out there, but just didn't happen. I learned a lot about desert running because I'd never run out there before. I didn't realize it got so cold at night. I was like, I was not prepared. So hard lesson there. So I still haven't given up on that. I was able, like here at home, we finally got a course certified. So it was exciting. So I got to run one pretty local this summer, and it was traditional around a track. So for some reason, it's just different. It's a lot. Those 24-hour races are different than just a normal 100-miler, just because you're usually just looping and looping and looping. So the one I did here, it was raining for the entire 24 hours. So I was so tired of being wet, but I ended up getting my over 125 in that 24-hour period. And I think I kind of enjoy those a little bit too, because even if it's so compact and such a, quarter-mile track, you see people. Sometimes on these 100-mile races, if I have a big lead, and especially if it's like an out and back or a point-to-point, I don't ever see anybody again. Yeah. It's just me.
You and the elements.
Yes. So I go back and forth. I don't know. Sometimes I just like that alone time and just, how far can I get myself? And other times I really like just that connection and seeing everybody else, because I can feed off of that and keep going. And as we started a thing here in Kansas, we're going to have a party.
Love that.
So that's...
I love that.
So,
and do you know, I'm curious, do you know who Andrew Glaze is? Yeah.
Yes.
I follow him, and he'll be running a lot of those desert runs, a lot of runs in Arizona, and at night sometimes he'll post that he's like sleeping and it's freezing out there, and I'll see it and I'm like, why are you like freezing? It's Arizona, you should be fine. But the desert gets cold at night. We go out to West Texas sometimes, like far West Texas in the Big Bend area, and that's kind of the intro to the desert. And even out there, like at night, it'll get down to like 40-something degrees in the early fall and in the spring, and you're like, man, I didn't expect this.
Yeah, physically that day I felt really good. I just hope that there's no like end of the race pictures on that one, because I think I acquired some pajama pants and I don't even know what I was wearing by the end of that because they're like, well, you're not giving up. You're going to finish this 24 hours. And they're like, here's a shirt. I'm like, because I mean, I flew out there, so I only had what I brought and
Yeah.
it's not the right stuff. So,
Yeah, but and I also wanted to talk about, you talk about how running is a positive mental, helps with your mental space in a positive way. But I can also imagine that like late in a 100-mile race where, like you said, if you have a big lead and you're all alone out there and you hit one of those dark moments that you were talking about, like that's not a good mental space. That can sometimes not be a good mental space. So when you hit those darker places, what is that experience like from someone who's only bonked in a marathon? You only have like 5 miles left to go at that point, but for you, sometimes you might have like 50 miles to go or 35. And so, what is that experience like, and how do you kind of get through it?
and I think I've learned to rebound pretty quickly. Sometimes I can get really inside of my head. I have a full race story about that we can get into in a minute because it was just an exception to the rule. For the most part, even when I get to those dark spots, I don't know why insert inappropriate humor wherever it can go, and I'm golden. Like I can usually just laugh about like even if it's laughing at myself, like you were just being ridiculous, it's because I'm over there like having a midlife crisis in my brain and I can't function. I can't think about anything about how bad this hurts or I don't really want to do this anymore. A lot of going to why am I out here? What was my purpose? So I can't I can't encourage that enough. If you want to complete these, you're going to get to what am I doing? So I hope you have a solid why, because I don't know. That's one of the things that just gets me going again. Because it's like you started this, you knew it was going to be hard. This was why you did it. So that can get me through a lot. But I just like to laugh, joke, have fun. So I'm always grateful if I get to like a low and have 4 or 5 miles left to back to like an aid station or human beings. It's because then I can, we usually come up with a joke or something. Just hearing some laughter it usually gets me going again. So a lot of times my lows come around in most of my 100 mile pluses. A lot of mine comes down to I just end up with GI issues, stomach issues, and then I'm starting to be really deficit on calories. And that's when I notice that mentality going down. Similar to like the wall in a marathon, so to speak. It's your body's like, I'm done, but like,
just beat it. I mean, that is so true. Like, a lot of the times when you're starting to have like a bad mental headspace, like it may be because you like tripped or something, or you got passed by somebody, or you feel yourself slowing down. But a lot of the times it is just you're hungry. Like you burnt your calories, you burnt your fuel. And there have been times like in a half marathon for me or something where I'm starting to get down on myself. And then I'll kind of switch that mindset of like, you probably just need to eat. So like throw a gel back and then like, I'll force it back. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like it is crazy.
Yes. A lot of times it's food for me, but it's like, so once that GI starts, then I know I got to keep trying to get calories in however I can. Yeah. So the one exception to being able to laugh and joke and whatever, I was doing a trail run in Kansas. I think if you were on my ultra sign up, you probably saw like an almost 30-hour 100 mile. That's just because my crew wouldn't let me quit. I wanted to quit. I was done. It was kind of a loop format. For whatever reason, I could not figure out the trail markings. So on loop 1, I messed it up. So I started in the lead, and then all of a sudden I'm like in 70th place again or whatever. I don't even know. And then I lapped all of them and thought, okay, the sun's coming up now. Now I can see this. So loop 2 was okay. Loop 3, I messed it up again, and it's starting to get dark. I mean, by that point, I was like sitting on a log out in the trees, and like I just sat down. I actually had my phone on me at that point because I was already struggling. I actually had some music that day. I don't usually run with music or anything. Had it with me, so I ended up calling them. I said, I don't know where I'm at. I said, I'm just on a log. And they're like, what do you see?
Yeah.
Like trees. Like I couldn't put anything together. My crew was worried about me. So I actually sat on a log for about 3-4 hours. I was freezing. Um, so the race directors and whatnot finally came and found me. They actually made me sign a waiver that said I was no longer going to be unsupervised for this race. Just because of safety concerns. And I'm like, I'm done. Like, I want to go home. The grass was all wet. So I told him, I said, I'm done. And like, I said lots of not nice things because usually I'm laughing and joking. And this day I was done. I was negative. So I laid down in the grass for about 30 minutes and they're like, no, 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 you're getting up. You're finishing this. Like, I'm like, no, I'm not. They actually picked me back up and I was soaking wet for the rest of the night. And I was like, fine, I'll walk the rest of this thing in. And I don't, so I can be very stubborn. And I was in a very stubborn, I mean, I think a lot of us that are after 100 miles, we have to have some stubborn tendencies. This day it was just shining brightly. And so my family, my crew, we all still laugh about that day because it was not good. Like the sun's coming up again. They're like, are you ever going to finish? I'm like, I finished the race and apparently from laying down in the grass and everything, I was just covered in oak mites. Like I had bites all over my whole body. I was like, yeah, I deserve it.
Oak mites. Geez, I've never even heard of those. That's crazy.
I mean, it's essentially like chiggers, but with the bites, it looked almost like poison ivy, just all over my legs, my torso. It was the most itchy thing and got to struggle through that for 2 weeks. So I've learned we're not going to lay down in the grass anymore when we're having a tantrum.
What's the treatment for that? I mean, because I've had chiggers before and they make like specific ointment for that. Is it kind of the same thing or? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of treat the itchy whatever with whatever topicals. So.
Dang, that's crazy.
It's like, I promise I don't have poison ivy or anything else.
Man, that would, yeah.
So yeah, that 100 miles.
Very much so.
Actually, I think my crew were in that one because I was so over it.
So talk a little bit about crewing and what does crewing look like for you? Who usually makes up your crew? Is it your family or how does that work?
Yeah, it's my mom's my ride or die, so she goes with me everywhere. Well, when I started running, I mean, all my kids were teenagers, so they would come out to these races quite a bit, and they're all entering adulthood, so they're starting their own lives and their own whatever. So a little harder to get them to, be able to go out of state, and they've got no time off of work and apparently no life. So they come when they can, but usually always my mom. I'm a pretty minimal needs person for the most part. I usually use handheld, switch one out, grab some foods. I don't typically stay in an aid station more than 20, 30 seconds and just swap out, go. So, but it's just nice to see. It's nice to see your people, the people that no matter what happens that day, they're there for you. So.
Yeah. You talk about your mom a lot and your mom being your ride or die. My mom, like, as you said, what is your why? My mom is a big why for me. So she's has been a big runner for a long time, and she did the Boston Marathon twice, and then is a big cyclist. So she's done a couple of years ago. She did cycling from Houston to New Orleans in the span of a week, and so it just takes on a lot of like big challenges. But she's been living with cancer for the last over a decade now, and so like still fighting that and still going and doing hard things. So she's always been my why, and like so I definitely relate to you with the rider.
is inspirational. So is she in remission? Or
Unfortunately, she's actually not doing so well now. She got rehospitalized back in October with headaches, and it turned out that it had metastasized to her brain. So she has 8 tumors in her brain, 1 in her lung, 1 in her liver, and then 1 on her spine. And so she's kind of on a downward slope right now. So we're just trying to be there with her as much as we can and, help her. But, I continue running and continue doing this because it's like, I want to kind of carry on her legacy, so yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think she would be proud of you for doing that.
But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I always tell my kids, I'm like, I just hope you always go farther in this life than what I have. So
that's what we have to do is, as sons and daughters, we have to carry on what our parents gave to us. So that's, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what, I was going to ask you, what is your why? I mean, you have to have a pretty major why to run 100-mile races and, be out there sometimes alone for so long. So what is your why? What keeps you out there?
Oh, it's beyond a shadow of doubt, my kids. So, kind of when I picked it up, like I said, I wasn't in a good spot mentally. I really, honestly, I don't know. I'm probably like every other American that I don't really take my health that serious. But when I kind of started running, I was like, well, I'm a little kind of overweight. I mean, I wasn't super obese or something when I started actually running. But just kind of, I guess I just wanted to make sure that I could be alive and healthy as long as I absolutely can be, to share experiences with my kids and to watch them grow up and to, I'm hoping to set good examples for them. And, I absolutely love having my kids at these races because they can watch me struggle. They can watch me fail. They can watch me overcome that. And I think you can take that and apply it to almost any situation in life and, be resilient and get through that. So, I mean, for me, it's for my kids. So
that's great. Yeah. I mean, running is one of those things that it's like the lessons that you learn are so applicable to life. Like you have a hard run. Sometimes you can, a lot of the times you can overcome it during the run and it gets better at the end. And, in life, there's a lot of instances where it's that exact same way. So, it's really cool to hear that you've been able to show that to your kids. And when you talk to your kids, like after your runs and after the runs that they've been together on, what are those conversations like? Are they super interested to hear how it all went?
I think they know I'm going to geek out. So I think they get really excited about it. Like before I was even home from Texas, they were like, what, just sharing posts on their Instagrams or, whatever. So I think they feel it. One of my favorites is from one of my early races. Like my son, he's struggled. He's dyslexic. He's never been real confident growing up, just very meek, shy. He was kind of the class clown because he was tired of everybody making fun of him. So he adjusted, accommodated, and said, okay, then I'm going to make you laugh. So he's always just kind of struggled throughout life and whatever, but it was actually at that honey badger out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I didn't really know a lot of the ultra running community at the time, so you could have pacers, but I didn't really I didn't even exactly know what that meant. But so he was out there, actually another runner out there. We kind of stopped at the same spot to refill, hydrate, whatever. Well, he had saw my son sitting there and he's like, you should go knock on a few miles with your mom. And he's like, I don't run. I mean, my son's like still in pajama pants and a t-shirt or something. Well, that particular runner went to his car in the middle of his race, gave him shoes, gave him some running shorts and shoes and said, go. He's like, you don't have to even be that fast right now. Like, because we're 60, 70 miles into the race. So he knocked out 2-3 miles with me. And that was in July. Well, come August, the kid's like, he's never done really sports or anything like that. Never had any interest. So come August, I mean, like the day before the deadline, he goes,
Oh, I love that.
and I was like, wait, what? And like, so I don't know anything about cross country because I didn't do school sports. And I'm like, okay, well, the physical's due tomorrow. So I had to drive him somewhere to get a sports physical, had to drive him somewhere to get shoes, yada, yada, yada. I mean, it just came out of the blue. And I was like, well, I'm not telling him no.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to figure this out. So after everything was said and done, he started his freshman year on the cross country team. He jumped right into the runs and everything. It started really rough. He kept ending up with injuries because the kid's never done anything athletic, so he had to be sidelined. And then he worked with the trainer. He could run again. I mean, back and forth, back and forth. So the first 5K he actually got to run with the cross country team. I mean, it was like I don't even know, 40-minute 5K time. Like he had the golf cart bringing up the rear behind him. Kid gets done, he is throwing up. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, that's like a walking pace. Like, and I'm just like, come here, trying to console him. But I'm so confused of how he exerted that much energy or force or whatever at that pace. I don't know, something in him at that point changed because the next day, the next meet, he looks at me and he goes, because he doesn't have a watch. He doesn't have anything. Like, he doesn't even know the pace he's running. He goes, my only goal today is to not have that golf cart up my butt. And I was like, okay. I said, you can measure that. Like, you can turn around and you can sit behind me. So he went from a 40-minute, whatever, 5K, that first meet he did. His second one, he was down to like 24. And then he managed to do cross country for 4 years and, ended up about the 21, just right under 21 so I mean, obviously not top of the cross country team or anything like that, and so I think he just took some of those lessons and just really applied it to himself. And it's like, I can do this. I can get better. Kid had always been kind of a DF student throughout everything. Once he started running, I mean, basically straight A's and B's and graduated top of his class. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I think, we've really talked about this, but the running, like, it's such a confidence booster, just getting out there and getting out on runs, getting out and showing yourself that you can mentally and physically endure something. Like, I've been a runner kind of my whole life, but I had sort of fallen out of it from like, I'd say about late 2020 all the way to like 2022, because I just, I had gotten a promotion at my job. I got super busy and just, was working all the time. And then I had asked my friend, who was a coworker of mine, and I was like, we should run a marathon together. I was like, because he was going through some hard things. I was going through some hard things. And so we ended up running this marathon together, and both of us had kind of like got through a lot of things, and our confidence really skyrocketed. And it actually led me to quit my job because like I realized how negative that space was. And I moved into a new job where I'm currently at now. That's such a more positive space. And I get to, I get to do a lot more of what I love and around a lot of people, but it's scary to quit your job. And I did, and I found this PEC, and I think where I work now, and it's been amazing. But it's just that running gives you such a confidence boost in life. And it sounds like that's what happened with your son. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was worth every bit of struggling and learning how to run just to watch that. I don't know, after I watched him just take it and run with it and just, and to this day, he's still doing so well. And I don't know, I want him to get back out running more, but he seems to be trying to figure out jobs and careers.
I guess that's important.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess my next question is, so what is next for you? What is kind of the 2026 starting to look like? Do you plan out your races like in a year, or how does that work for you?
I typically try to, right now, December and January, start really planning 2026, at least my big goal races. So I still like the road marathon. So I will be going back to Boston this year. So excited for that. I've got one of my local friends, Brian. Him and I have been really trying to hit speed work and I say hills. If where you live is anything like Kansas, like you really have to try for a hill. But I finally found somebody who runs similar cadence, pace, everything. So we've been I call it trauma bonding is what we're doing together. But he wants to sub 3 a marathon, don't want to sub 3 a marathon. So we're trying to get there. Actually, we maybe back down in Texas for Cowtown. So we'll see if we end up there. That's the goal anyways. But so I've got that one potentially, Boston for sure, signed up for that one. And then in the ultra world so far for 2026, signed up for the Cowboy 200 because I decided to go farther. I don't know, 100 isn't enough. Let's do 2.
You've run.
Sorry, that'll be my first 200, and then really looking at another 24-hour event. So my goal on that is. So I met the minimum qualifications for the female for the team, but really hoping I can push that up to the 130s, 135s just to get a higher ranking on that list and see if I can compete. Like that's one of my dreams.
And so you said, first off, I was going to address the hill thing. I live in kind of like the Austin area. So I live in Fredericksburg, Texas, and there is no problem searching for a hill. Like it is uphill any way you come back to my house. So like it's a steep uphill on one side and it's a rolling uphill on the other side. And hills are everywhere. I one time and I'm just kind of used to them at this point, like I just know that it's going to be a hilly run every time I go. And I was doing a speed workout last summer. And I wasn't able to hit my paces. I think mainly because I was just like fatigued going into that long run. And I finished it, and my coach saw it, and she was like, "You got 1,200 feet of elevation gain." She was like, "Are you tired?" Yeah, I'm just really tired I couldn't hit my paces. And she was like, "You couldn't hit your paces because you were trying to climb mountains up." But yeah.
So our biggest hill, my friend and I, we decided, well, I think he was only halfway joking, because it's maybe a quarter of a mile, if that. So we had to run this thing like 70 sometimes or whatever. But so we did 16 miles up and down on this thing. And it came just under 3,000. So it's like, I don't know where else we can. I mean, it took 16 miles to get just under 3,000. And I'm like, I guess we're going to maybe have to use the treadmill incline all the way up or something. But
yeah, that's awesome. And then you said Cowtown. I've not done the Cowtown full marathon, but I've done the half several times. And I can tell you, if you're looking for hills, like that's a hilly one too. It's like rolling hills, but it's a good marathon. And also it runs like through the stockyards. So you run on like the cobblestone roads and everything. It's really cool. And like the red brick roads. So
good. Right. But we haven't signed up for it yet, but
I recommend it. And then my last question actually was going to be, I had listened to a podcast that you were on back in 2023, and you had said you were a farmer. Are you still a farmer?
Oh yeah, I still live out in the country, raise goats, chickens. I'm a dog. So my mama, since 23, my mama goats, they had babies this summer. So we're up to, now we're 7. So they're fainting goats. They're adorable. So my moms, they don't really faint so much anymore, but the babies are definitely, every time I go out and feed them, they just roll over and get back up. They get so excited. So
yeah, that's great.
They're cute. But yeah, live out in the middle of nowhere. So most of my runs are just dirt roads. I've had friends come run with me or whatever who live in the city, or they're like, "Oh, you have no wind blocks out here." And I'm like, "Nope." I was like, "Just take out runs." So,
you can get carried away by like a tornado or something.
Yes.
But I was going to ask for farming. I had a farmer on actually a couple of episodes ago. She is a vineyard manager, so she does a lot of planting and her thing is you hope like the plants come through in certain seasons. If the summer is too hot or if it's too dry of a year, you kind of get worried about it. And I asked her like the mental endurance that you gain from running, it's kind of like you also have to have some mental endurance and some patience in farming, because you never know how it's going to, like, what year it's going to be, how your crop is going to do. But for you with the animals, I feel like it's also the same thing, because you have to have patience and caring for them and getting through certain parts of the year as well. So can you talk a little bit about how the mental endurance from running translates into farming as well?
I'm just a very habitual person in the first place. So I've got just a very strict morning routine. It's like morning and night, there's chores to be done. Always, they never end. So sometimes when I go out of town, that's another piece of the puzzle, is finding somebody to come tend to animals or making sure that they have what they need while I'm gone or on the road. But yeah, I mean, there is definitely mornings, especially when it's like you're trekking through a foot of snow or something. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to do this. Or there's frozen water bowls and tanks. And so it's definitely trying at times. So, but I mean, ultimately, like, I think they love to see me just as much as I like to see them. So when I moved out here, honestly, I wanted to just kind of start a sanctuary ranch and just take animals and kind of rehab. Like, I love animals. So whatever I could bring home, I wouldn't complain. So I'd find a way to make sure that they were taken care of. And
Yeah.
but I haven't really opened that door yet, but I hope someday to, be at home a little more, kind of after the kids are a little more grown and don't keep us running everywhere. So,
Well, cool.
but yeah. So, I mean, the work never ends, but.
Well, speaking of fun animal situations, we were at our Christmas parade here in Fredericksburg last Friday, and there was this one farm company that had a float, and they're like an exotic ranch, and so they bring a lot of they rescue a lot of like exotic animals and raise them up, but they had a live kangaroo on their float. And I was like, and he was like sitting in this like lady's lap, really well behaved, and just kind of like looking around. I was like, is that a kangaroo?
Okay.
So as an animal lover, I thought you'd find that hilarious.
Was it like one of the big, like, I don't know, kangaroo breeds or whatever, like the big, like boxing, like the tall?
It was one of the shorter ones, and I think it was a younger one.
Okay.
It wasn't a baby, but it was probably like maybe a year old, and so it was still kind of small to be able to like sit in the lap, but it was adorable.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's cool.
Apparently there was awesome.
And they trusted it enough too to bring it. Like they trusted it enough to bring it into
I
the
guess
float,
they knew it
so-
was well behaved or something. Yeah. So, but anyways, well, I don't think I have any other questions for you, but I do appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story and sharing a little bit about like the mental space in running and how running helps you in that space, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't talk about and like don't touch on. So I really appreciate you sharing your story there.
Well, thanks for having me on. So anytime I can geek out about running, I'm more than willing.
And actually, I do always ask one last question with every guest, and that question is: give somebody a reason. If you could give somebody a reason to go for a run today, what would it be?
That one's, I mean, I guess just do it for you, because it's a lot of times the only thing stopping us from where we want to be is us. So, I mean, anybody can do it. Like, I think as we've talked about through this whole meeting here, it really does just give you confidence and in so many aspects of life. So you're not going to regret it.
I love that. And yeah, it's one of those things, like, if it scares you, like, just go out and do it anyway. And then you'll feel a lot better once you get done. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll if I'll continue following your running journey and probably have you on again sometime in 2026 if that sounds cool.
All right. Yep. No, that works for me.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. That was Kayla Straub. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Through Their Stride. All of y'all's listens has really been helpful. We got over, we've just been growing every single week. I mean, every week there's spikes, there's bigger listening numbers, and it's incredible. And I'm very fortunate to have guests like Kayla on. She was very kind to come onto this podcast and share her story. And yeah, it's been great. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for continuing to listen and share. Like I said, we were named a most shared podcast on Spotify in 2025. That was incredible. And yeah, really appreciate every listen y'all give me. So I'll catch you on the next one. And again, I always ask this, if you have a running story that you'd love me to tell, or if you know someone who's got a great running story, please send me an email at throughtheirstride@gmail.com or a DM at throughtheirstride on Instagram. Either one works. I'd be happy to share your story. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.